1993 was a great time to be into video games. The 16-bit generation was in full swing, with both Sega and Nintendo finding ways to push their respective hardware. Sega did it with a hardware add-on like the Sega CD.
Hey! You still don't have a Sega CD?
Well, Nintendo took a different approach with the Super NES. Using tech developed by an 18-year-old Dylan Cuthbert and his team at Argonet Software, the first graphical processing unit was born, and along with it, one of Nintendo's most unique and groundbreaking games, Star Fox. We'd seen polygons used in the occasional console game, but they didn't have the power to utilize them in any meaningful way. The Super FX changed all that. Calculations required for polygons were being handled by the chip, and this allowed for a greater number of them to be used at any given time. Things finally had real depth and scale that you'd never seen before on a home system. Star Fox definitely received a lot of attention in magazines, but it was hard to understand just how truly revolutionary it was until you saw it in motion. On June 23, 1993, the US was formally introduced to Fox McCloud, Slippy Toad, Falco Lombardi, and my personal favorite, Peppy Hare, and a game that took the forward-facing shooter and flipped it upside down. The genre became known as the on-rails shooter. I can pretty much pinpoint the exact moment I fell in love with Star Fox and the on-rails shooter in general. Upon arriving at Stage 3, the Space Armada, your ship comes out of light speed and you're instantly thrust into this immense space battle. It's like something out of Star Wars. Not only were you fighting tons of enemy spaceships, you actually got to fly inside the larger space cruisers, shooting the core and flying out the other side. I'd always dreamt of playing something like this, and here it was, better than I'd even thought possible. It was like Nintendo reached inside my head and pulled out exactly what I wanted to play. I think the Space Armada remains the very best level in any Star Fox game. A few weeks after its launch in the US, Nintendo put together a competition called the Super Star Fox Weekend. Held at thousands of stores across the US over the weekend of April 30th till May 2nd, 1993, gamers could win various prizes, while the top scorer would win a Star Fox flight jacket. The Super Star Fox Weekend used a cartridge that contained a unique version of the game. They're given 4 minutes to rack up as high of a score as possible across 3 levels. The first 2 are abridged versions of the first 2 levels from the full game, and Stage 3 being more of a bonus level where you fly through rings to supplement your score. Once time is up, so is your turn. I'd seen the ads and thought I'd never have a chance to participate, but, to my surprise, it showed up at a local department store. And even crazier, by the end of the weekend, I'd landed the #1 position at my location. The 2,000 or so of cartridges used at each location remains one of the most sought-after rarities on the Super Nintendo to this day. You'll find it routinely starting at over $500 on eBay. Which figures because the only way you could acquire it was via an ad in the back of Nintendo Power. As well as the game sold, and despite a canceled at the 11th hour sequel, we wouldn't get a follow-up for a good 4 years on the Nintendo 64. "20 years later, the impression that Star Fox made is still recognized. The tech of the Super FX chip opened the gates for consoles that would follow. It's actually very surprising we've never seen a faithful and true remake of the original game. Sure, there was Star Fox 64, but that was more of a reboot than a remake, which was a pretty big disappointment for me. But let's save that story for another time. I am glad the first game got some love in Super Smash Bros. Brawl. It's very much deserved, especially with all the great music remixes. I always found it off that the sequels never did anything with the first game's amazing soundtrack. I should mention that months after the conclusion of the Super Weekend competition, I did get my flight jacket in the mail. Unpacking it, I put it in my bedroom closet where it sat for the next 20 years. I'd even forgotten I had it until recently. Maybe one day I'll wear it. Probably not.